Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ali, I'm a doctor working in Cambridge, and today we're going to be going through 35 of my favorite iPad Pro apps, and just for your convenience, I've split them up into 5 categories. And those are Create, Consume, Coordinate, Connect, and CEREBRATE. The last one's a bit weird, but it had to be 5 C's, and we've got timestamps in the video description and in a pinned comment so you can skip around as you feel like it. But yeah, let's just get into it. So we've got 9 apps in the Create category, and the Create category is for kind of creation of things. So for me, that's mostly writing and photo related things. And the first app on this list is Drafts. Now Drafts is fantastic because it's basically a really great tool for quick capture. So anytime I have a thought, wherever I am, I can open up the Drafts app on any of my platforms, iPad, iPhone, Apple Watch, or Mac, and I can just immediately start writing it down. So normally when you open up Drafts, it opens up to a new note, so you can just kind of start typing straight away. And so, for example, over here, I was taking some notes on a podcast that I was listening to in the car, and I suspect that I dictated this one into my Apple Watch because obviously I was driving and I couldn't type anything out. Or for example, if I'm planning out like a study with me video, then I'll use Drafts to type out all the things that I'm doing throughout the day. And it's basically a nicer alternative to the default Apple Notes app, which doesn't have dictation support built in. Next on the Create list, we have Notion, and I've made 3 videos about Notion already, talking about how I use it as my favorite productivity app, how I use it as a resonance calendar, and how I do my annual reviews using Notion. And I pretty much use Notion to organize absolutely everything in my life. So like, for example, all the video ideas that I've got. I also use it to track my workouts at the gym. So since the 23rd of September, I've been tracking all my workouts in Notion, and I've gone 19 times since then. It's not bad. I think I did reasonably well in December, but then, I had like a 10-day break and I only went to the gym earlier today. I'm sorry, it's bad. And there's absolutely loads of other ways that I use Notion for like studying, for productivity and that sort of stuff. And I've actually got a new series of videos called Workflow, where I take a deep dive into some of the ways that I use some of my favorite apps, including Notion. And all the videos in this Workflow series are available on Nebula, which is a new streaming platform that's built by a team of creators that I happen to be a part of. It's sort of like a playground where creators can experiment with different types of content without worrying about the YouTube algorithm. So I've got like tons of apps on my iPad, iPhone, Mac, and I want to kind of deep dive into all the niche, nerdy specifics of how I use them to maximize my productivity. But that sort of kind of granular level of detail doesn't really work well on YouTube. And so I've put those videos in this Workflow series on Nebula. And so far there are 4 videos on there, and I'm going to be adding loads more over time. So if you're a subscriber to Nebula, you can access them on my Nebula profile. But very excitingly, we've actually teamed up with CuriosityStream, who are sponsoring this video. CuriosityStream, as you probably know, is the ultimate documentary streaming subscription platform. And because they support independent creators, what they've done is that if you have a CuriosityStream membership or a free trial, you automatically get free access to Nebula. So a CuriosityStream subscription is less than $3 a month, and so for $3 a month you get access to this like huge library of documentaries on CuriosityStream, which are amazing, but also all this independent stuff created by creators on Nebula, including some of the niche videos that I won't necessarily put on YouTube. Thirdly, let's talk about the old boomer of the app kind of ecosystem, and that is Evernote. Evernote has been around for years. I've been using Evernote since like 2011 or something. I often get comments on my Notion videos saying that, oh, why haven't you replaced Evernote with Notion? And I don't really see them as, Notion replacing Evernote. I think Evernote is fantastic because it's still probably the most comprehensive note-taking app out there. And it really excels in the note-taking department. I've got like notebooks for everything I can think of. And the way I think of Evernote is that it's sort of like my long-term memory. So what I use Notion for is for things like project management and to-do lists, and for projects that are important but not necessarily urgent. Whereas Evernote is where I store a lot of the kind of archives or highlights from books and articles that I've read, or kind of random bits of writing that I've done. Because the great thing about Evernote is that you can just search for whatever you want. So let's say I'm writing one of my weekly email newsletters about productivity, for example. I can just search my notes for the word productivity. And now immediately I will get all of the notes that I've ever saved since 2011 that have the word productivity in them, or I can search for more specific things or whatever. But it's just a fantastic kind of bank of stuff, like to access as a long-term memory that you can search through. And the other apps like Notion don't quite have those features yet. So who knows, one day I might replace Evernote with one of these hot new note-taking apps, but so far I haven't managed to do that just yet. And I'm going to be trying apps like Roam Research and stuff, but I suspect Evernote is going to be a big part of my kind of second brain for quite a long time, just because I've got so much stuff in there and it's really good and it's easy to search. Fourthly, let's talk about Ulysses. And Ulysses is a very specific writing app that's available only for iPad and Mac. So if you're an iOS user, then this is fantastic. It's probably the most pleasurable writing experience. I've made a video before about this Apple Smart Keyboard thing and how it's the nicest typing experience I've ever experienced. writing in Ulysses is the nicest writing experience I've ever experienced. And so if I'm writing like long form things like my weekly email newsletter, then I usually open up Ulysses, create a new thing. I title it using Markdown, so I can use hashtag email, I don't know, I think we're on issue 95 of my weekly email newsletter. It's called Sunday Snippets. You can sign up with the link in the description if you like. But you know, I would use Ulysses, and you know, I'd be able to kind of write whatever I want. I can insert inline quotes. This is a quote. And it's just like a really nice, pleasurable markdown writing experience. So this is what I use for long form writing, which is still under the create category. Point number 5 is an app that I've started to use a bit less, but I still use sometimes, and that is Bear. Bear is sort of like a cross between Drafts and Ulysses, in that it's very good as like a general catch-all note-taking app, but it's also a really nice writing experience. So, you know, you can make a new note in Bear, and just like with Ulysses, you can write in Markdown. And from Bear, you can do things like publish to PDF or text documents or Word documents, or even publish to WordPress and Ghost and things like that. And the times when I use Bear mostly are if I've got my phone or iPad handy and I want to take kind of medium form notes on something. So let's say I'm listening to a podcast at the gym. I might just open up Bear on my iPhone and then be like, you know, Tim Ferriss episode with Jim Collins. And then I would kind of take a few notes on that as I kind of come across stuff. And I would normally kind of reference the timestamp that I've heard that bit in the podcast. So if I want to come back to it at a later date, I'll be able to see it. But yeah, I don't really use Bear that much anymore. Like Drafts has sort of replaced its functionality for me, just because Drafts is available on the Apple Watch and has like amazing dictation features. So I feel like I might as well use Draft. App number 6 is Notability, and Notability is what I use for handwritten notes. All of the other note-taking apps that I've been talking about are absolutely terrible, like in that they don't have very good Apple Pencil support. So if I'm in a lecture, for example, a medical lecture, and there's lots of evidence that kind of writing notes by hand is better for our retention and understanding of the subject than typing them out while we're listening to the lecture, then I will open up Notability and I will kind of do handwritten notes. So for example, let's see, neuro exam. So this was handwritten notes that I've made throughout medical school, including kind of various bits. So this was a course that I went on where that was teaching us about neurology and how to do a neurological examination. So I took kind of photos of the course book, put them into Notability, annotated them. This sort of stuff you just can't really do in any other app that I've found. I've tried using GoodNotes. I do actually have GoodNotes installed, but after doing like extensive testing of both of them, I decided that Notability was better, and I'm going to be making a more dedicated review about GoodNotes versus Notability, because everyone seems to have that question. But yeah, so far I much prefer Notability, and I just kind of use it for all my handwriting needs. Seventhly, we've got Day One, and Day One is the best journaling app for iPad, iOS, and Mac. And it's just like a journal. So I have different journals within Day One. I've got my actual journal, which I'm not going to show you because that's private and for my eyes only, lol. I have like a journal of nice comments where I screenshot and, you know, copy and paste nice comments that people have got. So this was a comment that I got on one of the videos. I'm showing you because it was a public comment on a video. It wasn't a private email. And I just like collecting these kind of nice comments. And how many have I got? 421 of them. So if I'm feeling sad, I just kind of have a flick through my nice comments and then can just kind of read some of them. And I think it's just quite nice when you make videos and you just kind of interacting with strangers across the internet mostly. It's nice having like a place to put kind of nice things. I don't know. I just think it's a nice thing to have. I've also got a memorabilia journal where I usually, you know, take photos of like birthday cards or letters or, you know, things like that I kind of want to throw away because I don't like keeping paper around, but, you know, I take the photos, put them in memorabilia. This was actually something that I picked up while watching like minimalism related videos, because we all say that, oh, this thing is a memory, therefore I don't want to get rid of it. But you can just take a photo of it and then get rid of it. So I started kind of doing that, and I've got loads of stuff in an iPhotos photo album with memorabilia. I just need to transfer it all into Day One just so it's all in one place. Next we have Lightroom, and Lightroom is the app that I use for all my photo editing needs when I'm posting photos to the gram. So for example, while I was at work the other day with my iPad app, this was a photo that I took to put on the gram, but this is the edited version and this is the non-edited version. So I just applied like a preset to it, did some hue saturation adjustment layer sort of stuff on Lightroom. And it's quite nice like that. So it just kind of transforms standard photos into slightly nicer photos. So this is before editing and this is after editing. It just kind of makes it pop a little bit more. Let's do another example. This was something like a random selfie that I took in bed that looked like this, normally with my iPhone, but then I applied a few edits in Lightroom to it and it looks like this. I just think it's a little bit nicer. So I like editing photos in Lightroom before putting them on the gram. And finally, we have a really good app called Spark Post in this category. And this is the app that I use to make all of my thumbnails. So the great thing about this is that you can just add a photo and then you can just like move stuff around. So if I wanted to change things with this thumbnail, I could sort of do it like this. I could move this around. That can go sort of in the middle. I might think the background is not dark enough, so I can adjust the darkness of the background sort of like this. And this is yeah, just like a nice uniform way of making these thumbnails. So those were the apps in the create category. Let's now talk about 7 apps in the consume category. So in the consume category, we've got 7 apps, and that's for things like watching, listening to, and reading stuff. So the first app in this category is Instapaper. And Instapaper is what I use to store articles that I want to read later. So, you know, Instapaper has like share extensions for everything on iOS. So if I get a link and I don't have time to read it there and then, I just share it to Instapaper. It's also got an email address that you can email stuff to. There's loads of ways of getting stuff into Instapaper, and it's basically a library of articles that I'm going to read, so that when I have a spare moment of time in the toilet or on a train or on a bus or whatever, I usually, like, the first app that I go to is usually Instapaper, and then I find an article that I want to read, and then I can read it. And I don't see any ads, I don't see any kind of like pointless website stuff. I just see the article in this nice typography. And the great thing about Instapaper is that you can highlight stuff. So this is an article about anti-fragile planning that I read a few days ago, and I've highlighted various bits of it. So to highlight stuff, you just literally press on it, drag, and highlight. And the really cool thing is that when I highlight stuff, it automatically gets synced to Evernote via a service called Readwise. And actually, one of the episodes of Workflow, that series that I've got on Nebula, talks about exactly how this whole thing works behind the scenes and the benefits that I found with exporting all my Instapaper highlights to Evernote and the various ways in which I use them. So just to remind you, if you want to hear more about this process and why I find it useful, you can check that video out on Nebula. Alternatively, if you've got a CuriosityStream membership, which you should because it's amazing and really cheap and just gives you loads of documentaries, if you have a CuriosityStream membership, you get free access to Nebula as well. So you can just find my niche videos about this workflow stuff. Well, I'll explain all this stuff in much more detail. But yeah, Instapaper is what I use to read stuff. Next, we have the Kindle app. The Kindle app is amazing because I don't actually read much on the Kindle app on my iPad. But for example, if I'm reading a non-fiction book and want to take notes on it, I would usually open it up in Kindle, and then I'll have a split screen with Drafts, Ulysses, or Bear. And so what I can do is that while reading in Kindle, I can kind of take notes on the side. The other great thing about the Kindle app is, again, it's got a highlight feature, and I've been highlighting stuff on Kindle since like 2010 or 2008 when I first got a Kindle. And another great thing about Kindle is that all my Kindle highlights are, again, synced to Evernote using Readwise. And again, to plug Nebula, I've got another video about how the Kindle Readwise Evernote integration works, with some examples of how I've used this export feature of Kindle highlights and why I found it immensely valuable to save all of my Kindle highlights to Evernote. So again, you should sign up to Nebula via CuriosityStream. Sign up to CuriosityStream, you'll get free access to Nebula, link in the video description, and then you can see these videos if you're interested in seeing me talk about this stuff in like really anal detail. Next, in terms of consuming stuff, we've got Spotify. Spotify is my streaming app of choice. I have tried Apple Music. I still subscribe to Apple Music because I've forgotten to cancel my subscription, I think. But you know, I really tried hard. I tried for about 6 months to switch, you know, exclusively to Apple Music, and I just couldn't do it. And I went back to Spotify, and it's just so nice. And I absolutely love Spotify. It's just so glorious. And I have different playlists for every year of med school and beyond. My most famous playlist is the Study With Me playlist, which currently has 23,700 followers. And this is full of like 1,000 instrumental tracks from like various sources: classical music, film music, TV shows, you know, Planet Earth, Hans Zimmer, all this stuff, loads of stuff from Game of Thrones. So when I'm studying, then I put this on, and none of these songs have any words in them, so they don't interfere with the word processing, which can sometimes, some of the evidence says, is not good when you're trying to learn stuff. But they also make studying much more fun because I've got this, like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean banging in the background while I'm trying to learn about respiratory physiology. So yeah, Spotify for consuming music. Then we have an RSS feed reader app, and that is called Unread. Now, RSS feeds are amazing, and also I'm going to do a workflow video about this on Nebula, just because there's a lot to dig into about how to set up an RSS feed and like how to set up with Feedly and how to get it into an app and various use cases for RSS feeds. But essentially, RSS feeds are how I keep up with all the blogs that I follow. And I sometimes get comments from people who read my weekly email newsletter, Sunday Snippets, link in the video description if you want to sign up. I get emails from people saying, like, oh, you know, you've shared these 3 really good articles this week. How did you come across this stuff? Like, how do you keep up with this stuff? And I don't usually have time to reply to all of these, but now I'm saying it now. It's all based on RSS feeds. So you kind of subscribe to different blogs, and then you get to see them all in one place. So I've got 156 unread articles. And so let's say I want to read this article in the Journal of Medical Ethics, but let's say I don't quite have time. But I can save it into Instapaper, and so then whenever I want, I can then read it on Instapaper. And it just immediately lets me see what all of the blogs that I follow have published. But yeah, more on that in the workflow series on Nebula, which is going to be appearing later this month. Next, we have CuriosityStream itself, who is kindly sponsoring the video. Thanks, guys. CuriosityStream, world's best documentary streaming subscription platform, founded by John Hendricks, who's the founder of the Discovery Channel. And on CuriosityStream, you've got thousands of documentaries across all sorts of genres. Some of the ones that I personally enjoy are about nutrition. I'm trying to get better at cooking and healthy eating and stuff, so there's a really good series about nutrition that I've been watching recently. But yeah, there's loads of documentaries on CuriosityStream. And as I've said, because CuriosityStream are amazing and support independent creators, they're partnering up with us at Nebula. So if you subscribe to CuriosityStream, you get free access to Nebula. So go to curiositystream.com/Ali and enter the coupon code Ali at checkout. And that will give you a free trial that you can sample all the documentaries to your heart's content. And then an annual subscription is like less than $3 a month, which is totally worth it for these amazing documentaries and this amazing like independent content on Nebula. App number 6 is YouTube. I'm not really going to talk about that because YouTube is not very exciting, but you know, we all know what YouTube does. And finally, the app that I use to read PDFs normally is PDF Expert, which I actually started using recently. Previously, I used to only read PDFs on Notability because I'd be able to annotate them using the Apple Pencil. But PDF Expert is genuinely quite nice for kind of reading PDFs. And the nice thing about this, which like Notability can't do, is that it automatically works out like the structure of the PDF, so you can kind of skip around. So for example, in this Oxford Handbook of Emergency Medicine, there's like different bits of this, and I can actually skip around to the different sections using the sidebar. Whereas if I were reading this PDF on Notability, I would have to like scroll absolutely tons or use the search feature or weird things like that. But yeah, if I'm reading a structured PDF like an ebook, then I'll use PDF Expert for that. So those were the 7 apps in the consume category. Let's now move on to the coordinate category. And in the coordinate series, it's sort of like productivity general utilities, but it had to start with a C, which is why it's called coordinate. So, you know, email client, the one that I use is Superhuman. And Superhuman is a bit weird because it costs $30 a month to check your email, but it's speeded up my email workflow by about 2x. So given that I spend so much time doing emails, I'm more than happy to pay $30 a month to cut that time down by a significant chunk. And so with these emails, for example, I can immediately just like get rid of them. Thomas Frank, oh, he's got a new habits course. And it just kind of makes it a bit more of a pleasure to get through emails. And so it just kind of makes sense. App number 2 is Fantastical. Fantastical is my calendar app of choice. And the nice thing about Fantastical is that it's got really good natural language processing. And that's the main reason why I use it. So if I wanted to create a new event, I can say, jam session with Sahel and Catherine, 18th Jan, 10 a.m. at Sahel's house. And what it's going to do is it's going to recognize all the metadata in that. And it's created this event, jam session with Sahel and Catherine. The location is Sahel's house and it's at 10 a.m. So like it just makes it so easy to put events into my calendar, which means that I actually now use a calendar. Next in the coordinate category, we have Todoist, and Todoist is what I use to manage my to-do lists. I used to use Things. In the video this time last year, I was using Things 3, but then I thought I'd try Todoist because it's a bit more cross-platform. It is available on Windows, unlike Things, and I just kind of thought that, you know, why not give this a go? To be honest, the apps don't really matter. And I say this in like a long ass video about all the apps that I use. The apps really don't matter. What matters is the principles, and then any app that kind of does the job fulfills that purpose, if you get what I mean. Anyway, so in Todoist, I keep track of everything I need to do, but it's all of the usually kind of time-sensitive stuff that normally has some kind of a deadline. So for example, if it's a shopping list, or if it's a reminder to water the plants, or to call my grandma, or to kind of do these little bits and bobs like submit something to the BMJ, add stuff to my medicine e-portfolio, kind of little things like that, then I would put those in Todoist. Whereas if it's like bigger projects like an online course or like a video series and stuff, that would go in Notion. So I use Notion for big project management, and I use Todoist for little things and reminders to call my grandma and to water the plants and to publish the podcast and email newsletter, which I actually did on Sunday. I haven't yet watered the plants. I should have done that yesterday. So it's just a reminder for me to water the plants. Next, we have YTStudio. And the nice thing about this is that it shows all the comments across all my videos in chronological order. So one thing I like to do is reply to any specific questions if I can on YouTube comments, if I've got some time. And so when I'm on the toilet or whatever, and I do have time to reply to stuff, instead of using YouTube, the actual app, I use the YouTube Studio app, and that lets me kind of reply to people and stuff. It also lets me kind of change like descriptions of videos, update thumbnails, that sort of stuff. And so it's just generally quite nice to have as a YouTube creator. 4 more apps I'm just going to blitz through. Firstly, we've got Google Drive that I use just basically my entire life is stored on Google Drive, so everything is in there. Next, we've got Frame.io, which is a good video collaboration platform. So for example, if my editor Christian is editing a video, he uploads it to Frame.io, and then I can like comment on the different timestamps in the video. And so we can kind of collaborate on what the edit should look like ultimately. Then on this screen, we've got the app Xero that I use for accounting for my business. And we've got Dashlane, which is my password manager of choice. Again, not going to show you any of my passwords within that. But yeah, those are the 8 apps in the coordinate category to help me coordinate my life, keep my life together, be organized, be productive, all that good stuff. All right, we have 4 apps in the connect category that allows me to connect to other people. And the most important one that I use every day is Slack. and I'm part of a few different Slack groups. This one is called Rad Reads. There's a blogger that I follow called He, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But there's this really nice like Slack group where everyone who kind of follows him is part of this group. You know, entrepreneurship, money, productivity, books, financial independence, you know, stuff like that. And people are just generally nice, very friendly, and kind of share recommendations for interesting articles. There's also the Forte Labs Slack group. This is another blog that I follow that has the course Building a Second Brain that I took a few months ago. And also Standard, which is the agency that I'm part of that's full of creators. And Standard is the agency that's built Nebula. Again, you know, sign up to CuriosityStream, please. You'll get free access to Nebula, blah, 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 all that stuff. You heard it before. And then there's the team of people that helps me out with my stuff. So normally I used to chat with Christian, my editor, but if there's other people helping out with writing content and doing other stuff that help me out, then they go into the A-Team Slack channel. So that's like my team name, the A-Team. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, haven't really figured out a proper name for it, but that's what it is for now. Next, we have Discord, and Discord is very exciting because a few weeks ago, I set up a Discord server, and so far we've got, We've got 259 people online, and I think like 5,000 people in the server in total. And it's got like fancy bots and stuff in it, so people ask for help with their homework. You know, studying is pretty active. We've got a group for podcasts, books, productivity, tech, where we discuss all this kind of stuff. Again, link in the video description if you want to join the Discord. It's free, and you know, I just hang out there sometimes if I'm really bored. I'm like, you know what, I don't want to make a video today. Let me just go on Discord and reply to some people. So this is how I like, you know, chat with people in sort of real time on Discord. I want to make more use of it when I've got actual time off work, so maybe kind of using it within gaming. Haven't quite decided yet. But yeah, it's all very nice. It's very wholesome. You should definitely join the community on Discord. Next, just quickly, the app that I use for Twitter is Tweetbot. Nothing exciting here. It's a Twitter app. And the app that I use for messages is Apple Messages. And obviously messages are synced across iPhone, Apple Watch, Mac, iPad, etc. And it's probably one of the main reasons why I don't use any kind of non-Apple products, just because it's so convenient when you can reply to text on your laptop or on your iPad or on your phone, depending on which device you have, rather than having to always type out stuff on your phone, which is what I would have to do if I were using an Android phone. And finally, at the end of this incredibly long video, we've got 6 apps that I use for studying and learning stuff. And I've had to call this CEREBRATE because that sort of means thinking, and it starts with a C. So now we've got 5 C's within this video. I hope you guys appreciate the effort that it takes to make up stuff like this. And the first app on this list is Brilliant. Brilliant is like an online courses platform that helps you learn stuff with daily challenges and things. They sponsor loads of my videos, so I use Brilliant when I'm feeling like I want to kind of get an injection of knowledge into my head. Secondly, we've got Skillshare, which is a platform for online classes. Again, they sponsor some of the videos. I've actually got my own course in Skillshare, like 33 videos, 35 videos, something like that, about how to edit videos in Final Cut Pro. Yeah, 3 hours and 15 minutes long. So if you want to become a YouTuber and edit videos like this one, you can check out my course on Skillshare if you like. Next, we have Anki, which is my flashcard app of choice, and Anki is what I used throughout medical school to learn drugs and anatomy and all sorts of stuff. And now I'm sort of using Anki to help prepare for my postgraduate medical exams. I'll be doing much more videos about that in depth, probably on workflow first, that series on Nebula, but then in the videos that do well, I'll kind of distill them into YouTube videos in a few months' time. That's the plan. Next, we have TabsHD, which is basically like lets you get chords for any song in the world. So let's say I want to play, I don't know, Fearless by Taylor Swift. I can just find the chords for it. So it would give me the lyrics, give me the chords. So if I'm playing on the piano or the guitar, I can be like, hey, there's something about the way the street looks when it's just right. There's a glow of the pain. Whatever. I can do that while playing guitar and piano. And I can also transpose stuff. So I have this set at a transpose -5 because I can't sing the song at its normal pitch because my voice is quite deep. Therefore, I transpose it down a few semitones. The app does it automatically. It's great. And yeah, you can just kind of play anything in the world if you just have the chords for it and you can sing along. It's fantastic. And finally, I want to talk about Notion again because I do actually use Notion for studying. I'll show you some of my notes in Notion. We've got, let's see, where are we? HOM. HOM means physiology or homeostasis. So within the topic of nerves, for example, I've got essays within this database that are related to the topic of nerves. I've got key active recall questions that I've again got in Notion. And I basically just have all the notes that I've written for this topic organized in Notion with the different topic titles. And the nice thing about Notion is it's got this toggle feature, so you can kind of hide loads of information inside these toggle bars. But if you want to hear more about this stuff, I actually talked about it in a live stream that I did in the official Notion office hours. And actually the recordings from that are available as part of the workflow series on Nebula. So as a very final plug, if you want to hear me dive more into detail about a lot of these apps, including Notion, you should check out the series on Nebula. And if you don't have a Nebula subscription, that's fine. You can sign up to CuriosityStream, free trial or subscription, and you'll get free access to Nebula automatically. So you can support independent creators like me, because, you know, there's no ads on it. We just get a cut of the kind of subscription revenue, which is fantastic. There's no algorithm, so you see everything that every creator produces. Thirdly, you can see all the stuff in my workflow series. And finally, you've got loads of other content from loads of other independent creators. And actually, we've got this really cool series called Working Titles, where different creators break down like how different title screens and like title animations of different TV shows are made. So we've got one for House that's done by my friend Medlife Crisis, Dr. Rohin, he's a cardiologist working in London, and loads of other TV shows as well. And we've had loads of emails from people saying that just that series, Working Titles, is alone worth the price of the Nebula CuriosityStream subscription. So if you want to check it out, you can. But yeah, that was 35 apps across 5 different categories. This is the annual video that I do every year. It's always really long, and I always kind of update it a little bit with new apps that I'm using. So if you've gotten this far, then thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this video, you will like, firstly, the workflow videos in the Nebula series, but also I'll put a playlist over there somewhere that has like more app themed videos that you might like. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.